Last Looks crew, this strike, am I right? I'm sure some of our international folks are still working, which is amazing. But I know here in the US of A, it has all come to a grinding fucking halt. All I know is I'm highly disappointed in the AMPTP folks and wish for them to quit with the corporate greed and decide to be decent, art-loving human beings. So I guess we'll see how this plays out. I hope everyone is doing well under these difficult circumstances. Just do me a favor and check in on your work buddies. Make sure they're okay, yeah? And in other news, if you are a barber, you know a barber, or are interested in anything to do with a barber's journey into the TV and film world, well, I have the perfect guest for you today. I know him as Dee the Barber. His name is DaMarr Ward. He is a born and raised LA barber and now works behind the scenes. Dee is also the barber that will be taking our Last Looks workshop, Don't Fear the Fade. So be sure to keep a lookout for when we release more information and dates for that. Dee will help you understand your tools, guide you to make decisions confidently when approaching a fade. Well, heck, even knowing truly what a fade is. Dee will give you a step-by-step guide to help you feel and look more experienced when it comes to those famously feared fades. Disclaimer though, y'all know how much I am a massive advocate for repetition. Practice, practice, practice. Now, Dee can only give you so much. You have to leave the workshop with all the gems Dee has passed on to you and make it your mission to put it into practice. Anyway, I'm so excited that we can offer this to you, our Last Looks crew. To stay up to date with our latest news, there's a link in the show notes below to sign up for our newsletter. Anywho, my name is Jamie Lee, a hairstylist from Aotearoa, New Zealand, living in LA, and this is the Last Looks podcast, a show where I catch up with makeup artists and hairstylists in the film and television industries around the world. And today I'm speaking with Dee the Barber. On with the show.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Psst. Come in closer. Would you like to hear what Hollywood's best kept secret is? Want to know what many A-listers are using? Do you want your skin transformed to be red carpet ready? Abovo Skincare's enriched eye and delicate day creams will nourish, moisturize, soften, and heal your tired skin. The meaning of the name Abovo is the origin, the beginning, the start. Take your skin back to the beginning with these natural, eco-friendly, luscious products. Great for all skin types, under makeup, and also for midday touch-ups. A little goes a long way to luminous skin. And we haven't forgotten our FX friends. Abovo Skincare is incredibly soothing and healing after removing those prosthetics. Skin will be in great shape for your next day's application. Try this magical mix of essential oils and ethically sourced emu oil, and your skin will say thank you. Available at abovoskincare.com. That's ABOVO skincare.com. Or pop into LA's industry-focused beauty supply stores, and you too can enjoy Abovo Skincare's star treatment.
And now, our feature presentation.
Pictures up.
Last looks. Rolling.
And action.
Welcome to the Last Looks podcast, Dee.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so this is where our story begins. I want you to finish the sentence for me, okay?
Okay.
Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Dee, and when he grew up, he wanted to be...
He wanted to be a psychologist.
A psychologist? How does a little boy named Dee know what a psychologist is? That's fascinating.
Well, I think initially I wanted to be a psychiatrist, and then from psychiatry, as I grew older and learned more about it, I kind of moved into thinking I wanted to do more of the social side of it, not necessarily medicine. And
yeah.
I think it started off thinking a psychiatrist just because I knew what they were and I knew it was in the area that I wanted to work in. But once I got a little older, I was like, nah, I think psychiatrist might be a little too much schooling for me.
So you wanted to, what was drawing that to you? Just wanting to help people?
I think that's what it was. I mean, early from some family members, that I saw when I was a kid and learning about mental issues and just being curious about it and wondering, what goes on in a person's head up there being a little kid.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So at what point do you, and this is also fascinating that you pretty much probably are in that line of work when you have somebody in your chair.
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like I may not have gone to school for it, or I'm not in an office environment, but I feel like definitely what we do, the amount of talking we do and sharing life stories and situations with people, we're definitely in some vein, we're giving therapy, definitely.
Yeah. So when does that shift happen, and how do you kind of find yourself leaning towards being a barber?
I was actually in school at the time, go to get my license and, further my education for schooling. But at the time, my roommate was a barber. Mm-hmm. And I used to cut hair. I've cut hair all the way back in high school. We used to cut each other's hair after school, after, Friday nights, after games, before we go out. We just give each other cuts to save money, so we'd have some money to go out.
Yeah. I
never thought it would be a career. I never, even back then, I never even envisioned that this was something that I would do. Or I would even say I didn't even have a big experience growing up in barbershops myself.
Right.
Because like I said, we used to cut each other. And when I was really, really young, I don't even think that was like part of the culture really when I was little like that. I think we were wearing braids and, longer hair. So the way people were in a barbershop now, like every 7 to 10 days, it wasn't like that for me as a kid.
Yeah.
But my roommate was barbering.
Okay.
Actually, him and his brother in the same shop. And I used to hang out there a lot because my roommate was there. And me and his brother had actually became more close than me and my roommate were.
Yeah.
So me and his brother were good friends. So by both of them being barbers, I would come by the shop, hang out, just kind of, swing through and say what's up. And the barbershop was kind of that social place too. Sometimes guys would swing through, weren't even getting haircuts.
Yeah.
Would just come by and just kind of shoot the shit, so to speak, and see what's what. But I don't know. It was kind of like a little running joke in there for a while. Like, well, you might as well work here. You're in here so much. And I would joke around with the barbers in there. They were all my boys after a while. And I would joke around like, yeah, I could probably cut circles around a few of you guys. Like, you're just slow, or you don't want me in here because you guys wouldn't eat if I was in here. And I would kind of joke with them about it a lot. Yeah. So being in school, I was actually working 2 part-time jobs. And the crazy thing, like my roommate, as good of a dude as he is, he wasn't the most structured, or like, he didn't really work on a routine. He was definitely an artist.
Yeah.
He was a musician at the time anyway. So like, I think barbering for him was more of a way of paying the rent, paying bills.
Yeah.
And it allowed him the freedom to kind of do his music. So his heart wasn't really in it, I don't think, at the time. And eventually the owner of the shop gave me an opportunity to start cutting hair. And like I said, I was working 2 part-time jobs, and my roommate, I would see him go to work at 12 o'clock at noon and be back home by like 7 or 8 in the evening. And he's coming home with like $150 in his pocket every day, $200.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like, if I could just get like $50 a day and let go of one of these part-time jobs, stay in school, that little extra money, and that's kind of how it started for me, honestly. Like, I just wanted a way to make some gas money. I wanted a way to make some movie money and not really have to worry about my paycheck money. And I didn't see it being long-term even in that situation. I was just trying to get some money, and I had really no intentions of investing. Like, I'm making $50 a day every day with no problem. So now I'm like, okay, well, let's just crank it up to 100. I can just do 100 a day. And I remember going to talk to my mom, like, because she was really against it.
Right.
Thinking back in hindsight, like, my mom was really, really big on education.
Yeah.
And for her, I think it even fit in her vision of what she saw me doing. You're going to school, you're going to be a doctor, that's fine, stay on your path. But something about cutting hair shook everything up. And I remember telling her, I'm like, I think I'm going to take a semester off and really focus on the shop. I got to get my clientele up. If I'm trying to explain to her, like, people got to see you. You got to know you're in there. They come in there and, you're not in there as much, then they don't feel comfortable with you. So I got to, really establish myself. She was like, listen,
she's like,
I don't, she was like, I don't understand that. Like, and again, my mom, she has a master's degree. She went back to school raising us and working a job, full-time job, and got her. So to her, it didn't make any sense. And it's funny, now I think back on it, I remember she was so like, give me the air quotes, like, you can't cut hair and go to school. Like, really just like really like down in it, like, cut hair, really?
Yeah.
Cut hair? Like, I raised you guys and went to school, worked a full-time job, and I got mine.
Yeah.
And you're telling me you're going to quit school to cut hair. And she just kept saying it like, cut hair. So, yeah,
that's rough.
Needless to say, I eventually stopped going to school, and I didn't think the flip would be as fast as it was. I just thought, I'm going to take a semester off. I'm going to get my clientele up. I can see myself making some money here. I probably went from $50 a day to close to $150 to $200 a day, to where it was just like drug dealing money for some reason. Like, I had cash in my hand every day.
Yeah.
School didn't seem that important in the moment. And being young as I was, I think, I don't know, I got a little delusional, but I mean, it worked out. But
not delusional. It's just when you go from not really having much cash coming in to being able to earn like that, you're probably like, this is pretty sweet. Like, I'm enjoying it, getting to hang out with guys that I like hanging out with, and I got money coming in. This is great.
And then I think another thing that kind of forced me to kind of stay on that path was, okay, I started at 50 a day. Now my income's gone up, but now my lifestyle's going up. Now I'm spending more. Now I've gotten a new car. I've gotten more expenses. My incoming money isn't matching anymore because I've ramped it up a little bit. So now I really have to go to $50, 100, from 50 to 100, and from 100 to 150 to kind of keep up. And it kind of became like a rat race. Like I would realize, like, okay, I got to smash now. I got to get my clientele up. I got to be in the shop earlier. I got to stay later. I got to, whatever it was I would needed to do to get more money, more heads in the chair, I will do.
Yeah.
But then I didn't have the discipline, I think, back then to manage my money as well. So that was my cycle for a while. But I enjoy what I do. I feel blessed in that area. I don't wake up and like, I got to go to work. Or, oh, man, I got to, And no 2 days are the same. So I feel like that's a great thing why I loved it so much. Because I don't know. I don't know if I have the personality type to sit in an office, or the monotony of going to an office and sitting at a desk every day, day in and day out. That would drive me crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's, it's a good thing you worked that out earlier rather than later. How did your mum kind of settle into the idea of it all, or does she still think it's crazy?
Yeah, it took her a while. I had to grow on her.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think she's good now. She's real good now.
Yeah.
But, she's always asking, what are you working on? Or, wants to hear about the stuff, because I get excited. I still, I'm like a big kid when I talk about work.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, parents just want you to be okay. It's just like, as long as you can look after yourself and you're happy, it's just like, great.
Yeah. I gave my mom a few scares when I was younger too.
Oh,
I was a bad kid, but I was, I wanted to try things my way and wanted to hang out with my friends, and I thought I knew more than what I did.
Oh, I think we all do that at some point.
Yeah, so
you got to test those boundaries and see what's what.
Right, yeah, I was definitely a boundary tester.
That's awesome. So, like, where did you grow up? Where were you doing all this?
I grew up in Los Angeles.
You did?
West Side, yep. Yeah. West LA.
Nice. I did think that, but I wasn't sure. I thought I'd best ask.
Hey, I went to Fairfax High School here in Hollywood up on Melrose.
Nice. So when does this shift into TV and film world kind of come about? How long ago did that kind of kick in?
Well, let's see. I think my very first job, going to a soundstage, going into a hair and makeup room, like seeing behind the curtain, like that was in 2004, 2003.
Okay, so it was a while ago. Yeah.
It was a TV show. There was a rapper. Her name was Eve, and she had a show back in the day, a sitcom, and that was the first show I ever worked on.
Okay. How does that come about?
I was thinking about this last night, and it's funny how like the connecting dots or the people in our timeline kind of connect our experiences and our history. And I feel like my situation moving into film and television. Again, I didn't even think hair overall would have been my future.
Yeah.
So I really didn't give any thought that working in television and like, I don't know, I didn't even think that as a barber, that was something you could do.
Right.
You know, I thought they were like, you know, you would think the names like a Vidal Sassoon type of person, like those were the people working in those kind of environments, not the people I knew working in barbershops. But the situation for me that initially began my path on it, it was my best friend I was telling you about, who was the brother of my roommate.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to fast forward a few years after I go into the shop, working with them, where the shop where they were at. There was a salon up the street from where we were cutting at. The owner of that salon used to come into our barbershop to get his haircut. So he would come to us all the time, and he would constantly sit with my roommate's brother. So he was looking to get out of his business. He had started having some success with real estate. So he used to tell my buddy all the time, like, hey, you know, I'm always in here. I'm listening to you and your guys talk. Like, I'm going to close my place down. Maybe you should talk to your boys and you could come take over my place and turn it into a barbershop. And at first, nobody wanted to invest. Nobody wanted to put any financial investment into it. Like, they seemed supportive, but no one wanted to do anything until it was basically like, well, if you guys get in there, set everything up, and it's comfortable for us to shift over there, then we'll make the move. Like, no one wanted to do the work of sharing with their clients that they were going to move, or the financial investment, or the...
Yeah, I mean, it's a big step to take. So,
but the flip side was everyone was miserable at the place we were at.
Right.
No one was happy there. So we were really looking for something to branch out and start our own and you know, build a brand for ourselves. So eventually we did. We ended up moving into his place. He started subleasing through the guy. So that's the fast forward part. So now we're in the shop. We have our place set up. It's me, my roommate, his brother, one of the other barbers came up there with us. The lead of the whole situation was me and my roommate's brother establishing everything. Now we fast forward again, maybe 2-3 years later now, because now I have my daughter. My daughter was maybe 6 months old. What it was we had an agreement that because he was the one who had the contact for the building.
Yeah.
He arranged the sublease with the owner of the place, worked everything out on that note. Coming from a barbershop or in a salon environment, you got maybe 2 ways to go. You're going to do booth rent, you're going to do commission, or you're going to be on, you know, some type of salary maybe.
Yeah.
We came from a background where we were doing booth rent.
Yeah.
Most of the guys coming in, no one wanted to do commission. No one wanted to be on a salary where they got paid to just come and cut. Everyone wanted to, you know, have that feeling of being their own boss and their own entity inside the shop.
Yeah.
So when you started trying to put in certain parameters to make the shop run more like a business and break away from the background where we came from, where everything was just disorganized, and people kind of did what they wanted in there, and it was just conflict all the time. We tried to establish like real guidelines and rules and mandates so that, you know, dress codes and things that they just weren't used to seeing where we came from. The four of us would always do booth rent. And as we established our brand and we opened up and we expanded and we brought more barbers in, everyone coming in after us would be commissioned.
Right.
Because we would have laid the foundation. And that was kind of our way of getting back from our investment as far as having faith to step out and help get it off the ground.
Yeah.
We fast forward a couple of years now. One of the other barbers, like I said, it was four of us. The third barber, he's gone. He's no longer a part of the equation. And so now it's just three of us. It's been a few years already. So we've gotten probably 4 other barbers in our shop now outside of our initial 4.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a Monday night. We have a meeting. And my partner comes in and, you know, he starts laying out the changeover. We're going, everybody, you've got like, I don't know what we said, maybe a month, 2 weeks, no longer, it's going to be booth rent. This is going to be commission and So of course we're expecting people to gripe and a little pushback and, you know, maybe even someone might be like, no, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a few people might even jump ship. So we sit there and he's doing most of the talking. So I'm sitting in this meeting, and after the meeting, because everybody had like a little manila folder with, kind of outlining what was what in the timeline. But the thing was that I was never supposed to go into that. I was supposed to always be on booth rent.
Right.
And my booth rent is, it maxed out at a certain point. He asked me, he kind of came over and was like, you didn't sign the paper. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean sign the paper? He's like, yeah, you didn't sign that. And I'm like, I kind of look at him and like puzzled, thinking he's joking with me for a second, because I'm thinking like, okay, like it's just me and you here now. Like our meeting's over, and a lot of times like we would discuss things maybe privately that we didn't discuss with everyone else, just between me and him. And he's really sitting there like, you need to sign. Like, are you going to sign it, or you didn't sign it, or how? I forgot exactly how he worded it. And in that moment, I realized like, okay, he's serious. Like. He expects me to go to commission now. Like I'm all these new guys that are here in the last year or two. Yeah. And just because everyone else is gone, it's just me and you now. Your brother, our other friend, they're not even a part of the equation now. So, and it boiled down to his name was on the lease. I felt principle wise, it was either leave out of there or it was going to be something and go down a totally different road. That being a young father and trying to establish myself and move out in a new direction in my life. Like I was like, this is not going to fare well for me. And I told him I was not signing it and that I would be out of there by the end of the week. And this was Monday night. Yeah. I had no idea where I was going, what was going to happen. I was just so pissed and felt like I had no move. Like I felt played and taken advantage of. Like I had no options, but it was just a principle thing for me. Yeah. So Tuesday night, I'm at a house call. And it's just crazy how the universe works, because I had these two kids that I would cut, and their mother, she's the wife of a head of state, a foreign head of state. Her husband is a president in an African country, but her and the kids stay here full time. So I had been going over there for years, cutting her kids. So I'm over there, it's Tuesday night, and I just wasn't my normal self. And I had, I had all that on my mind, and she just kept asking me, like, what's going on? You seem like something's up. And so I eventually just started telling her, like, yeah, me and my partner, we're going through it. And, I kind of broke it down real quick and told her, like, I'm gonna have to leave the shop, or, me and him gonna be fighting up in there. Like, I really could feel how sincere she was, because she was like, you know what? If we have to, we're gonna get you a shop. I don't care. If we have to find you a building, you start looking. We're gonna find you a place, and and I was like, whoa, like I was caught off guard, but I knew she had the resources to do it, but I wasn't trying to even explain my situation, looking for a handout or looking for help like that. I just needed to vent, because I hadn't said it to anybody. I hadn't even really discussed it. She was, like I said, so she was real supportive. So she told me she had a person who did her here. She's from California. Yeah. So she had someone when she grew up, she used to do her hair. She told me his shop was really close to where my shop was. So she told me, look, I'm going to call him and all I have to do is ask him and he'll make a place for you. And again, like I said, I had never met this man, had never been there. And I didn't want to be disappointed or get my hopes up too high. Like this is where I would go. But literally that Wednesday afternoon, I spoke with her. Yeah. She said, I just talked to him. This is his address. I want you to go see him and talk with him. So I was going to go around there just to kind of introduce myself. And I had my fingers crossed, hoping that it worked out, because his shop was literally walking distance. Like my shop was on Wilshire, 1 block west of La Brea. His shop was on La Brea, 1 block south of Wilshire, literally around the corner. Yeah. So I went over there and I'm trying to, and I introduced myself and I'm trying to explain my situation. And, I wanted to give him a little backstory, because I didn't want him to think like, okay, why is this guy leaving? What are you coming here for? Is he, is there some drama? Yeah. So I'm really trying to explain to him what my situation was, why I was leaving. And he just kept cutting me off. Like, listen, you came really highly recommended from somebody who I trust and have known forever and is willing to vouch for you the way she was. Yeah. I don't need to know anything about where you're coming from. And he already had a key made for me. Oh, wow. He gave me a key that day that Wednesday. I had this situation Monday night. talked with her Tuesday night. Wednesday afternoon, that he gave me a key to his shop.
Wow.
So literally by that Friday, I was gone. I had packed up, moved all my stuff, and I was in his salon.
And it's around the corner, so all your clientele are obviously...
Perfect situation. I mean, I couldn't have asked for it to play out any better than that. And it was through the universe letting me land there, meeting him and becoming friends with him. And he became a mentor of mine as well. He was, was a lot older than me. He was probably 75 in his 70s, mid to late 70s when I met him. And, he became a good friend. We talked a lot about all kinds of things, but in his shop, who would become my very first friend and mentor in the 706 working in his shop.
Right.
And that was my first introduction to even knowing what the 706 was, hearing it by name. And he was my first peek behind the curtain, so to speak. His name was Sean Smith, and he worked there, and the salon name was Ashby's Coiffure. I landed there, and I ended up being there for a good 2.5 years, regrouping and getting myself together before I eventually opened up my shop. But that was meeting Sean Sean was who introduced me a makeup artist. Her name is Rianne. And Rianne and Sean and actually Paula as well. Paula Ashby. Man, that's a crazy small world. I'm saying all this out loud because Paula Ashby, she's also a member of the 706. Hairstylist. She was working on the Eve show with Sean and Rianne. And Rianne's a makeup artist, but they were all on the Eve show. Like outside of Eve, the main 3 characters were men. Yeah. And they needed someone to cut the guys. So Sean mentioned me to them. They brought me up. I met the fellas. Everything clicked, and I was off and running. I started cutting the 3 guys on that show, and I think it was a good experience for me as well because Eve's show had a lot of cameos as well. So I met a lot of talent that would come through there appearing on the show, and I just started cutting a lot of people. They would come to the shop, or I would go to them just from that experience, or I would meet other hair people, other makeup artists. And I feel like that was like the springboard for me. Like, I feel like if I'd have never went to Ashby's, I would have never met Sean. Had I never met Sean, I would have never met Rianne and Paula. And from them, I met Dean. And from Dean, I feel like it's a springboard. Every experience kind of led me into the next.
Absolutely. And so Eve, I'm guessing, was it a non-union show or was it a union show, but you were cutting and not going on set, or like, how was it working for you?
Well, it's funny because at the time I had no idea about unions or any of that stuff. And 2 of the guys, it was almost like I was their personal because there wasn't a trailer. We were actually, they were cutting up at what is the Sunset Gower stages now. I forgot what they used to call it back then. It's Sunset Gower now. But there weren't trailers. There was a little small hair and makeup room. And each of the guys had their own room. They had their own green room or dressing room or whatnot. Yeah. So I literally just went to each of their room. I didn't have a station in the hair room. I would show up, come up there, give these guys cuts, go room to room, setting up. I mean, we'd be up there playing video games in their rooms. And
so it's a pretty sweet gig.
It was a good time.
That's awesome. So, I mean, obviously through that and meeting different hair stylists and makeup people in 706, you're kind of maybe at some point thinking, what is the 706 and do I need to be a part of it?
Yeah. I met Dean Banowitz. You've had him on the podcast before. Dean was also a really big supporter of mine in the early days. I was to cut Dean for a long time as well. I would go to his house, cut him, or he'd come here, I cut him here. And he would have, because of the type of shows he was working on, there were so many contestants and so many guys needing barber cuts. Sometimes because they were at hotels, I would just go to the hotels and groom them offset so that when they went to set, they weren't there every day. It wasn't, they were a lot of those competition type shows. So they're not there every day. Dancing with the Stars, X Factor
and all that,
So I really got a lot of experience working with Dean as well. Got a chance to peek behind the curtain again and see how things. And Dean was really one of the very first people he used to tell me all the time, like, you need to go back to school and get your cosmetology license. He was probably the first person that made me understand that I didn't have the same value only barbering, because someone would bring me in, they'll set me up in a room, or I go to someone's personal room, or they send someone to me.
Yeah.
They get cut. And then that's it. Or even if they brought me in, like after a haircut, I was sent home. I would do a lot of 8 and skates because I didn't have any extra value. You know, they didn't see any need to put me on the staff because they didn't want to waste a spot.
Yeah. He's like, Dee, there's a whole world over here that you can get access to.
Yeah. But you know what it is, though? I think I was coming off of that failed business situation. I felt like I had to do the shop. I had to do a shop. I had to open my own. I had to prove to myself, prove to my family, prove to them that they weren't going to stop it. So even though I had kind of had a peek behind the curtain and I was understanding that there were other options and other lanes, I was like a dog with a bone. I couldn't let go of not trying a shop. Yeah. Like even when we met, you know, I was doing a lot of commercials at the time. A lot of the guys I were cutting, they were athletes or rappers or basketball players, like just entertainers in that lane where they might get booked on a commercial or a spot and I would go with them. Yeah. Or they would call me before and come get cut for it. And I started getting into where I wasn't doing television or movies, but a lot of commercials. And that's where I think I started really collecting my days and hours in that lane.
Yeah. I will just say that as a hairstylist, and I met Dee, it was like 2 days, I think, that commercial that we were in this teeny tiny little room together having people come in and out. And it was so awesome to see a barber who you were just so up for anything with hair. You were just like, Dominique would come in and be like, okay, you've got to glue this hair on here and make this shape and glue this and glue that and cut that. And you were like, cool, let's do it.
Yeah, I want to learn all of that.
Yeah, there was just no fear or no, you just weren't like, oh, no, I only cut hair. I'm not gluing all that stuff. You were just like, show me, I'll do it. Let's get it done, whatever it takes. And just that attitude, and you have such a calm presence in the middle of like mayhem. It was such a joy to work with you. It was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And that's why I think you stuck in my mind. And I was just like, oh, Dee's got to get his days. He's got to get into the union because I've got to work with this dude more.
Yeah, that's what Dean would. He was like, man, if you don't get your ass in school. And I was like, you know what? I was like, and the thing was, I felt like I was literally introducing myself as Dee the Barber. Yeah. Like I'd meet someone, hey, I'm Dee the Barber. Yeah. So my whole aura, my moniker, everything, my essence was barbering. So I didn't see doing hair even as something I wanted to do. Yeah. I just thought like, yeah, I'm a barber. Like, why would I go back to school to get a cosmetology license that I'll never use? I mean, yes, it does help me. And I think that was the biggest thing for me was I enjoyed the fact that I could step away, go do a commercial for a day or two and come back to the shop and people be like, oh, you know, Dee cut so-and-so, or my barber did that commercial, or, you know, that helped make people want to sit in my chair more. Yeah. So it did boost me up in the shop a little bit, but it wasn't enough to where I wanted to walk away from the shop and pursue going back to school and trying to get into that lane because I really felt like part of my calling was to establish a school, like a barber school, because I wanted to establish what worked, what didn't work, and take that template, go to a new city and start another shop there. Because like, I mean, like the whole namesake behind the whole, because the shop was called Majestic Barbershop. And I thought initially, I wasn't even sure where. I thought maybe Atlanta or Chicago would probably be the next Majestic. Like I was trying to work out all the kinks, figure, you know, basically just do a McDonald's style kind of outline for how the shop should go, right down to the cutting system. Yeah. I wanted you to come in LA and you come into Majestic and you could go to Chicago Majestic or Atlanta Majestic. And it maybe the aesthetics may be different, but you would get the same treatment, the same type of service. And they would just, you know, roll like that. But yeah, I just couldn't, at the time, I didn't see it. Yeah. I wish I would have, but I feel like I wasted so much time.
I don't think so. I don't think it's ever a waste. You were still working towards something and getting more experience and growing in other ways. But for anyone who doesn't work in the States, to understand that to be a barber, you don't need a cosmetology license, and a cosmetology license is more for hair salon, like coloring, perming, women's hairstyling, I suppose. And then to be a member of the 706 union, you need to have a cosmetology license. So that's what when Dean was saying to Dee.
Yeah. Aside from trying to get the days, that was probably one of the biggest parts of me. Like, I don't need that, and because even back then I remember thinking, I used to always tell people like, the only thing about joining that union is I'll get to see my name on the credit. I don't care about that. And I used to, that was like my way of kind of deflecting, I think, like that I didn't care. Like, only to see my name on the credit. Who cares about that? Yeah. People know I did it. And then I didn't want to do the dues. It was a lot of different things that kind of, I felt kind of helped me off.
And it's, I think also, if you don't know what you don't know, you at that point hadn't worked full time on a TV show or film in that capacity of being a union member. So you weren't aware of what is possible, I suppose. Yeah. And I mean, cosmetology licensing is daunting. I mean, even when I moved here, I had to sit it, and I'm a qualified hairstylist. I know what I'm doing, but still the thought of having to be retested on stuff in a different country, I was just like, I don't want to do this. Why do I have to do this? I don't want to. But, I just sucked it up and did it, and it was very easy and fine. But there's still that thought at the beginning of I don't want to do that. Yeah,
I think barbers who think or are thinking that they want to do this or that this could be something that they would want to pursue, they probably really should, for one, be prepared and understand about the whole cosmetology license part of it. Yeah. But I don't know, I feel like the difference between being in a salon or a barbershop to working in a trailer is it takes some adjustment. Yeah. And then everyone doesn't have the personality or the discipline to be in a trailer, I believe. Yeah. Because I feel like I've been on jobs where I've had an opportunity to bring on a commercial. I've had an opportunity to bring people in. And during the mornings, getting everyone established, getting everybody through the works, they're fine in that mode. There's a little anxiety, I think, that goes with it because you don't know what you don't know, like you said. Yeah. You don't know what's next or what's to come, and you're a little on edge because everything is new. And it's your senses are just heightened that you're figuring it out. Yeah. But I think for most barbers, the fact that you spend the little bit of time that you do with a client and move on to the next, I mean, we come from a place where efficiency and speed is definitely a part of what you need to have if you're going to be successful. But I don't think the downtime that goes with set works well for a lot of barbers. Yeah. And they're busybodies. Even when they're not in between a cut, they want to be able to go outside and do what they want to do, or leave when they want to in between, or to just sit still, or just so many other things that go with doing hair for production. Yeah, they would see me leave the shop, and I come back and I'll talk about it. I'll talk about how much fun, or they can hear my excitement. But then when they get there, I remember once the guy was like, "Man, this is what you be doing?" He was like, man.
He's like, the grass is not greener on the other side.
Yeah, he was like, man, y'all just be sitting around like this? Oh, man. I was like, yeah, I told you, man. It's not always cutting hair. And then sometimes, if you're on a show, maybe not a commercial, I mean, I've had days where I didn't even take my clippers out my drawer for a few days. Yeah. And it's just about, styling and just maintaining it. And for me, that's the fun part. I enjoy that I don't even have to cut some days. Yeah. That it's about keeping up the continuity and creating these characters and getting into that world. I enjoy that part of it for the backside of not only doing the hair part. Yeah. And I think if a barber is coming from that world, they have to be able to enjoy all of it. You have to be able to enjoy continuity, and you have to be able to enjoy travel, and there's so many things that's just not about cutting hair. I feel like even in a salon, to be a successful barber or a successful cosmetologist, hairdresser, it's not always just about how well you can style a hair. It's about the feeling that a person gets when they sit with you, or the conversation sometimes, or just the energy. Yeah. And sometimes being able to manage the energy in a trailer is important. I mean, you spend 12 hours a day with someone in a box, that energy is important, being around somebody. So sometimes having somebody's in there that's just like, oh, I don't want to be here, or when can we leave, or how soon is this, or like that kind of unhappy to be there energy is like, ugh.
Yeah. I almost wonder sometimes if it's that thing of, once again, of not knowing what you don't know. Like your coworker that came in to try it out at that point, didn't really understand all of the things of what you need to be paying attention to all day. So the continuity and the script breakdown and the this and the that, like not understanding that and thinking that everyone's just sitting around maybe possibly doing nothing. I mean, commercials, you don't really need to worry about a lot of that stuff. So there might be a little more downtime depending on what the job is. But when you're on something full time and you have character, their journeys and their storyline arcs and all of this type of stuff that you need to be kept in play, if they don't know that that's part of the job, then they're just going to think that you do haircuts and then sit around all day.
Right. Yeah. There's it's a lot of stuff to kind of manage in your bag.
Yeah.
Other than just being able to do a good haircut.
Yeah. And then like yourself, and I know that you are more open to learning outside of that barbering box. You have a natural, just inquisitive mind of wanting to be like, I want to know how to do that. Like, how can I be more helpful? Yeah. How can I know how to, I want to know how to do all this other stuff. I don't want to just be the barber guy. So is that something that just has kind of come naturally to you, or is it a conscious decision that you've made to just be like, I need to try and...
Yeah, I think it's actually, honestly, it was a 180 for me, because there was a time, like I said earlier, like where I think part of my identity was he's the barber.
Yeah.
So I stood on that. Like, I'm not like, do women's hair? Not me. Like, that was like kind of how I stood on it. And now it's the exact opposite. I can be in the shop all day long and my wife will be like, I don't understand. Like, you come home, you've been doing hair all day. Now you're sitting there watching videos. You're gonna lay in the bed the rest of the night and watch videos of other people doing hair? And I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, it's doesn't feel like work to me. This is I'm gonna pick up something here. I'm gonna see something, or I might catch something. I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
So constantly ingesting it doesn't feel like, I don't know, it just feels natural.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's what I'm supposed to be doing. How am I gonna get better? How am I gonna learn it?
Yeah.
If I don't see it, if I'm not constantly around it.
Yeah.
I had that same thought though. Like, I guess because I play poker. I used to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
And I know, like, I've had that feeling when I would watch someone play golf. I don't play golf.
Yeah.
But to me, like, to watch someone else watch someone play golf on TV is like really like watching paint dry.
Yeah. You're like, why?
Like, I don't get it. Like, who wants to watch that? But if you're a golf player and you play golf, you'll sit there and watch, and you're watching all the little nuances that player is doing, and you're picking up on all of it because of the interest that you have in it. And that's how it is for me with hair. Like, I can watch it and study and talk about it because I want to get better at it. I want to be able to, at some point, know that I can step in and be like a Swiss Army knife with it and do it all.
Yeah, that's good.
But it definitely took me visualizing and kind of seeing where my trajectory was going and wanting to get there and not feel like a fraud for being there. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I've had that thought in the past too a few times. Like I know what I'm doing, cutting hair. Like I wouldn't say I'm cocky with it, but I'm really confident that I can cut hair and I know what I'm doing. Yeah. Now, the environment may change, or, you know, the situations may be a little different where it's not as comfortable or is a new, I'm going through the motions in a different environment, so to speak. Yeah. But I still have that confidence that I can do it whenever I do it. But I think with styling women's hair, I got some ground to make up.
Well, it's a lot.
Yeah, get that comfort level, I guess.
Yeah, it's just repetition and practice and just not being afraid.
That's it. I feel like that's when I talk to people about barbering and trying to learn how to cut hair, it's like, yeah, you take that clipper, go up in there, you know?
Yeah.
Got to get up in there. You can't be afraid.
Yeah. It was one of the things that I used to say because in New Zealand, you do both hair and makeup. So there would be someone like myself who came from a salon background and then went and learned makeup. So I was first a hairdresser and then a makeup artist. But then I was working with makeup artists that had not done formal hair training. They had not worked in a salon. They hadn't done their apprenticeship and all that kind of stuff. So they were, you know, they'd gone to school, learned makeup, but did not have that foundation of hair stuff, and they were working it out as they go and learning on every job and, you know, trying to figure it out. And that was my main thing that I was always saying to my work colleagues, was just like, without going crazy on it, like, be aggressive, like, fucking just get in there, like, don't be scared of it. You are controlling that head of hair, like, you are in control. You got to be able to make that hair do what you want it to do. You are the boss. Like, you can do it, just don't be scared of it. Yeah, you just got to get in there. You just do it.
Same approach with fading.
Yeah. Well, if you don't do it, you'll never get any better. But was there any, like, at some point, any advice that you were given that has kind of stuck with you throughout your career?
Actually, not really I would say is a real piece of advice, but something that's funny that always kind of plays in my mind is, no matter what, pay your booth rent and go to work.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice.
It sounds silly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's funny because I remember this conversation. Two people were talking, and another person was telling this other barber, like, because this person would always, at the drop of a time, like, dip out. Like, they would have a client for another hour. I'll be back. Or, you know, they would show up late. They just weren't taking care of business.
Yeah.
So always falling behind. So she was saying, no matter what, if you're having relationship problems, go to work, cut through it.
Yeah.
You know, you're falling behind on stuff. You're late on your home rent. Pay your booth rent first and then go work. Like, no matter what, just go to work, cut through it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, I mean, she was joking, halfway joking when she said it, but I feel like that's always stuck with me. Like, no matter what it is, just go to work, keep cutting.
Yeah.
Like, just cut through it. And it's not any, like, it's not real advice, but I don't know why that's always stuck.
I think it is advice. Even if it was coming through as a joke, I think it's good advice.
And then another one that we all know, I'm sure we've all heard of: when in doubt, pause, go wash your hands.
I like that. That's really good. I've never heard it phrased like that, but I'm a big believer in needing to step away. So
That always took me back to, like, barber school or cosmetology school, like, especially on the exam. Like, I remember that stuck to me a lot. Like, if there's something on the exam and you're not certain about, or before you make a move and do something wrong, just go wash your hands. Like, they won't take any points away. You won't lose points for being clean, for being sanitary.
Right.
So just, if you need to process it in your mind or double think it real fast, just go wash your hands or think it through in your mind while you're washing your hands.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me too, like, preparing for my test.
Yeah, I felt like when I did my cosmetology license exam, it was all about sanitation and nobody really cared about what I actually did with the mannequin's hair.
Yeah, like, that's all it is. They don't give it. They really could care less about how well you're going to give someone a style.
It was bizarre.
Just don't pass any communicable diseases.
Yeah. Sanitize. It's like, yeah,
Right.
okay, I got it. So has working in the TV film industry been what you thought it would be?
It is.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel disappointed. I actually feel privileged and blessed to be able to say that I do it, because I think about the challenges that I dealt with running my shop and managing all of the different personalities. Like, it's a lot to be the captain of a ship, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, you got to manage all the personalities, not only help them, put them in the best position to win and succeed in your place. You got to, help them. And then on top of that, you got to also be mindful of who they're bringing in. Like, there's a lot of energy to manage, and actual physical thing, like the aesthetics of the place that has to be maintained. And, a lot of hat switching.
Yeah.
So when I had to go from standing behind the chair, giving a cut, talking with my client, my favorite part of the job, to dealing with some maintenance issue or some salesperson's calling on the phone and now someone needs me on the phone, or, it was a lot of in and out of going from being behind the chair and spending time with the client in the barbershop side of it.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have to manage as much of that in the trailer.
That's good. It sounds like you've worked in some good trailers.
Yeah. I've been blessed.
That's good. I'm pleased
enough
to
to
hear it.
know now that when I do go somewhere where it shouldn't be, and that I know the difference now.
Yeah. No, it's good. What do you enjoy most about it?
I feel like being a fan of cinema and television film the way I am, for as long as I have, to get an invitation to participate and contribute,
Yeah.
I like that. I enjoy being a part of it. Like, I think of working in production almost like a circus, how I see it. I feel like we're like the big top. Like, we're a community of a bunch of different departments that comes together to put together a big show.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody has their lane, their expertise. And if everyone is diligent and puts their best foot forward and really nails down what they're there for, like, you can put on a good show, put together a good product. You know, I try to bring 100% in what I bring to the table. So just being able to be a part of that, like I said, being a fan and watching movies and wanting to bring something that's authentic and people are going to look at and talk about, and it, you know, it survives. I want to be involved in stuff like that.
Yeah. That's very cool.
So, I enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
I enjoy creating the characters and talking about why this person's hair would look this way if they were in this scene, or their hair shouldn't look that way because that wouldn't make sense. You know, it's not organic. You know, I enjoy creating that part or having some influence in that small way.
That's awesome. What do you find most challenging?
Aside from constantly finding work, that's a challenge. Being able to, I don't know, I think coming from a background of doing a lot of commercials, I'm familiar and comfortable with and take it as par for the course. As it's just a part of what it is, that you pack up, you go on to the next thing, or you come, you do your job, and you may leave for the day.
Yeah.
You know, you may not be back for 2 or 3 more days for the next time they need you to come and give this person a haircut again.
Yeah.
But getting into trailers and finding a lane where I can become a part of a team, where I can set up, have my environment to where I can work every day, like, that's what I like. And I think the hard part for me now is actually the part of coming in, breaking down, moving on. And I don't know, I feel like a part of my efficiency also goes with having the continuity of my station and my setup.
Yeah.
And I felt in the past where I'll be giving someone a haircut, and because I'm reaching for something that isn't where it would normally be, in my mind, I think that the person in the chair now feels I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Because I feel like I'm moving in a way that doesn't feel like I'm hesitant.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, where's this? What's that? And to me, I feel like when I work, I have a flow. It's part of the comfort level that I like to make the person in the chair feel, that I think has kind of elevated me in this business. Because people, again, I feel like whether it's in the salon or in a trailer, like, people want to feel like the person standing over them knows what they're doing. They're in good hands. They don't have to micromanage them or kind of, you know, give a lot of input on what it is, and that they're in good hands. And I feel like I try to make sure everybody has that feeling, whether, like I said, I'm in my studio or I'm at work.
Yeah.
Everybody I want to feel has that star kind of treatment, and that they know that I'm giving them that attention to detail.
Yeah. Because you've worked in both spaces. As you're saying, you do the work that's like daily work, and you popping in from here to there and packing up and moving and moving and moving. But you've also been on some shows where you're in a trailer, you've got your station, you've got a home for the run of the show.
Right,
and
that's where I got spoiled.
Where, that's you took a liking to it, it sounds like. And you'd like to continue doing more of that.
Yeah, especially when you get around good people too.
Yeah.
Like, when, you know, after spending so much time with someone and being around them, like, when it's time to wrap, that might be one of the negatives. I mean, it's not a bad thing in a sense of it's, you know, detrimental bad, but it's bad in a way emotionally bad. Like, after you've connected and you spend time, like, I feel like it always gets weird around that week leading up to wrap.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows that, like, the energy gets weird, the actors get weird. Everybody knows whether it's you're contemplating what's the next gig, or you're tapped out and you're ready for some downtime, or, like, I don't know, it gets weird. I'm beginning to realize, as projects come to a close, I've noticed that I get into a space of, like, missing the people, because I feel like I bond with people. Like, I when I'm around people, like, it's hard for me to be around someone and fake something. Yeah. So when I get to a place where I can enjoy being there, and I feel like I've been really, really lucky in the last couple of years, where I've had such a good run of meeting people that feel like family, like work family.
Yeah.
You know, and when it's time to move on or go somewhere else, it's like a little mini depression.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, because the fact of the matter is, there's no guarantee you will work with these people again. You can hope and put it out there, but I mean, whether it's anyone from like a different department or cast or someone that you've really just enjoyed their company and working with them, there is that thing that it's just like, this is coming to an end. I've had so much fun with you guys. It's been hard work, but it's so much fun. But I may actually never see you again or work with you again. Like, it's kind of crazy. It's always bittersweet for me. I'm always just like, I'm not very good with long jobs. I like my jobs to be short, and that's just how I function. But I get to the end and I'm just like, yay, we're done, you know, because I feel proud of our accomplishment and we've finished it, and that's a celebration. But at the same time, I'm just like, bum. It's so sad that I'm not going to be coming into this trailer and seeing all you beautiful people every day. Yeah.
But you work on some intense projects, though, so I can understand that. Like,
yeah, I don't quite know
you jump in,
why that is the case, Dee, but it seems to be... I'm always surprised that my team will keep coming back to work on the insanity that we end up working on.
I think that's where the reward comes in.
Oh, it's very...
You've gone through something and you know, like, okay, we had challenges, we overcame it.
Yeah.
And I think that was another thing I was going to mention earlier. We were talking about if I was going to give another barber some insight or some kind of advice or just some perspective, like you have to not only be disciplined and be able to kind of and stay on top of your own thing. You have to be a self-starter, you know, and a problem solver. Like, sometimes you're not going to circle back and get an answer. You just got to make an executive decision and use logic and figure something out and just get in there and get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So, Dee, if I had you set up in the station in the trailer of your dreams and you had all your tools and product and everything with you, if I came in and I took something away from you, what would you just freak out about? What can you not work without?
I mean, not that I have a particular brand of clipper, but if I came in a trailer and my clippers were gone, oh yeah, I'd lose it. I'm a barber. That's my staple. I feel like that's part of my identity. my hair clippers, yeah.
But you could use somebody else's clippers.
Okay, a particular.
But you would still hate that, right? Like, there must be a reason why you have the clippers that you have.
Yeah, I feel like with barbers is, I think the more barbers I've talked to, the longer I've been around barbers, I see and I understand the connection that barbers kind of create for themselves, the mental connection, I think, with their clippers and their tools. Yeah. Because I feel like I do it myself, and I've just been in the shop for years. I've heard other barbers reference it in a way where they talk about their tools almost like either it's their kid or it's their, you know, like they might like have 2 or 3 trimmers on their station, and this is my hitter. Like, this one right here is the, you know, this is the big homie, or this is the little homie. Like, they give them names and, you know, like identities. Yeah. So I feel like it's part of the culture, I think. Like, you know, you got a clipper for this, you got a trimmer for that. Like, I got multiple liners and trimmers on my station. One I only use on a face. The one I shave someone's head with, I wouldn't even use on someone's lip or their face. You know, so having different ones for different things. And I think people who don't barber, they might look at a barber station like, wow, I got something. Is it a show thing? Like, why? Like, no, this one is for my lines. Yeah. This one is for like my edge ups. This one is for kids. It's not super sharp. Connecting with your tools and giving them names. Yeah. I think that's part of, I don't know, do you guys do that? You guys, like your combs and
I don't know. I don't know if I've given things names. I mean, I certainly build relationships with my wigs when I'm working with them. But tools, I mean, I have tools that I don't like. Tail combs. There's a certain type of tail comb. I fucking hate picking up any other type of tail comb. Like, I just like the tail comb brand that I like. And every time I pick up something else, you know, they're weighted differently. They feel... You can work with it, but you would rather not. You want to work with what you like and know. So, but I don't name my tail combs.
Yeah, I think barbers we're a different group. We're a little eccentric because
It's nice though because you do have less to work with as well. Do you know what I mean? Like a hairdresser's kit has like a ridiculous amount of stuff, whereas you know, you have a certain number of items that you need and want to get the job done. So of course it's a little more personal.
Yeah, I've got a pair of shears. I remember when I graduated from barber college, because I was a bootleg barber for a while. We used to call bootleg barbers a barber working in an environment, like in a shop without a license.
Right.
So I bootlegged it for a while. Like when I went to go to my friend's shop and working there before we left open, I didn't get my actual license until we opened up our shop together almost.
Yeah.
So bootlegging all those years, I feel like, I don't know, that I like naming things and just being like, as far like, because it's been 25 years now since I've had my license. But when I graduated, I went and bought myself like my first real expensive pair of shears as a graduation gift to myself.
Yeah.
You know, I had like the $25, $30 shears up until, you know, I went and spent like $600 back then for a pair of shears. And I don't think any of my friends had spent that kind of money on a pair of shears or a pair of anything at that time. So when I got them, there was a movie called Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah. And the name of the sword that he used to use was called the Green Destinies. And that was the name. Even now, like, I'm literally looking over at the shears hanging up on my wall right now. They're still hanging over there. And I used to call them the Green Destinies. And somebody would come over my station or try to grab, like, oh, no, don't you, like, oh, don't touch his Green Destinies. Like, it was just funny, like naming your tools. And
that's awesome. I never named my shears, but I still use my very first pair, like my first proper pair of shears. They're my main scissors that I cut with now to this day. Yeah. And what one person would you like to hear on the podcast?
That's a good one. You know, it's funny. I remember I was telling you a few weeks ago when we first talked about me coming on here. I was like, I feel like my career didn't even equate to being to the level of being on the panel with some of the people on your podcast.
Oh, you can't look at it like that, Dee.
This is like a mama I made it moment.
That's very funny.
Let's see. Yeah, Dean's already been on here. Howard's been. I mean, all my idols, all the people I'm like that are like mentors and I'm fans of. Like, I feel like, you know what, Howard's friend Johnny. Johnny would be somebody interesting because Johnny's done a lot of stuff and he's a great.
What's Johnny's last name? Villanueva. I've heard of Johnny Villanueva. Yes, but I haven't had him on the show.
Howard and Johnny, again, like I feel like when I think about, this might sound like bullshit, but I feel like I can connect everybody in my mind, in my story, in my timeline that has gotten me here. And again, Johnny and Howard, they're part of that timeline. Like everybody, I met them through someone else. And because of that situation, I mean, that's how I met you. And I met Akiko through you guys. And through Akiko, I met Howard and Johnny. Howard and Johnny put me in position to get the final days that I needed for my unit. Like, and it's like, you know, it's like a long family tree, I feel like, that I'm connected to. Like I'm a branch of all these family trees in the hair business and the hair industry.
You could do a Kevin Bacon, like 6 degrees of separation for Dee's career.
Really? I mean, you know what? I feel like there's so many people that, like, if I could just give a thanks to or like acknowledge or just say, like, I've never forgotten none of those people. And like, I may not talk to a lot of these people often or every day, but when I do, or when I run across them, when we see each other, it's like we just saw each other last week. And that's one of the great things I like about this business, whether it was in the shop or here. Like, I'm glad that it carries over for me into the production side of it, because I think the connection and people, this is what has kept me grounded and connected to it for as long as it has. Because I feel like there's so many people that can do great fades and they probably can cut circles around me when it comes to designs or other areas of barbering. But I feel like as a barber, a well-rounded barber, as a complete barber, like I feel like I touch on a lot of things that gives me like a balanced score, if that's a good way of describing it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've come across some barbers that were like, wow, this guy's amazing. He can literally draw your face in the back of in someone's head. But he has horrible hygiene.
Yeah.
Or he's horrible with appointments.
Yeah.
Or
He's late.
he has his conversation isn't like suitable.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like there's just so many other things that go into what we do, whether it be in the shop or in production, that you have to, like the attributes, you have to like kind of touch on a lot of them and not just be strong in only one or two. And I think the more a person is mindful of that and you work on building equally all of your attributes, then you have a chance to go a little further.
Yeah.
And people remember you and want to connect with you.
Just be a good guy.
Yeah, I hope that's most of it. Because like I said, you don't want to be in a trailer with somebody for 8, 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that you look down the other end of the trailer, you're like, oh my God.
Well, it's nice to hear that you feel like you are surrounded by a really great community. So that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Well, Dee, I'm going to thank you for your time, and I have thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you. So thanks for being on the Last Looks podcast.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm so glad to have been able to do it. And this is definitely a feather in my cap. I'm feeling good. Can't wait to hear it all together.
That's very sweet.
So I can email and link everybody to it.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, Last Looks crew, thanks for listening. And remember, if you love it, share it. A quick scroll down and you'll find our show notes. Or maybe you'd like to give your support and leave a 5-star review. Go on, I know you want to. Search the Last Looks podcast on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, whichever one tickles your fancy. And a massive shout out to the husband, Brett Stanley. Without his patience and tech support, this whole podcast situation simply does not happen. And cheers to Liliana Rose for her fabulous voice acting talents. Okay, Last Looks crew, that's a wrap for me. I don't need to be told twice to get out of here. So bye. I'll catch you on the flip side.